everyone, and welcome back to The Day Before. Today you're going to be very excited because today we are doing our final investigation into Hunt a Killer's case curtain call. So, if you've been following along, you know that a woman named Julia Adler found the body of Viola Vane, a 1930s stage actress, in the attic of her theater. And we are trying to find out who killed Viola Vane, along with where Viola Vane's hidden jewels are, so that Julia can save the theater called Cadence Theater. So, first of all, I wanted to show you my very cool shirt. My friend got it for me for my birthday. Thank you, Adrian. I love it. Another thing is, I did not take detailed notes to do this investigation video. I am pretty much fresh off of looking through everything last night or the day before. So, we're just going to jump into this. I'm going to explain what I did, how I came to my conclusions, and then we can discuss things in the comments. Are you guys ready? Let's get started. The first thing we are going to look over is the letter from Julia. So, this letter from Julia starts off with, "Hi again. When I first reached out to you, I knew what I was asking wasn't easy. The police pretty much gave up right from the start, but you never did. I couldn't have figured out even a fraction as much as you if I'd been working on my own. Besides all the codes you've cracked and suspects you've eliminated, you've changed how I see this theater and my family, not always for the better, admittedly, but I'd rather know the truth, no matter how painful it is." And she goes on to basically say what she sent to us in this episode, and then she goes on to say how we can contact her when we know who killed Viola, and to let her know if we have any ideas where she should look for Viola's treasure. So, let's move on. The next piece of evidence we received in this box is a letter to Julia, the owner of the Cadence Theater, from Alexandrite Antiques and Appraisals. It says, "Miss Adler, at your request, I have researched the jewelry enumerated in the inventory you provided and have estimated an appraisal for the current fair market value to the best of my ability." As you can see here, the appraisal value is $16 million. That's enough to save the Cadence Theater, I would think. So, Viola's jewelry, wherever it is hidden in the Cadence Theater, is worth $16 million today. Estimated. The next piece of evidence we're going to look over is a little newspaper clipping. And here's the other side. So, what we're looking at here that's interesting is the bottom of this side. It says, "Broadway blunder. A scuffle in the theater district resulted in one woman's arrest. Witnesses reported a woman shouting erratically while attempting to break into a theatrical establishment. The woman resisted arrest, striking officers who arrived on the scene and sustained an injury to her leg in the course of the arrest." There's another interesting piece at the very, very bottom that says, "Proposal problem, Central Park South." Okay, so this is cool. "A woman had to be rescued from choking during a dinner at the Excelsior Hotel. A surprise proposal went awry when the fiancé-to-be accidentally choked on the ring hidden in her celebratory drink. Thankfully, there was a doctor present who managed to prevent the woman from coming to harm. Happily, she still said yes. So this is about Ira proposing to Evelyn. So I thought it was cute, and we should probably email Julia and let her know that her grandfather proposed to her grandmother on that day, and it's in this newspaper clipping she sent to us. Isn't that neat? Okay, let's move along. The next thing, when I saw it, I basically knew that we were going to be able to eliminate this suspect. If you remember, we have 3 left. George Erickson, Evelyn Kittredge, or Evelyn Adler, because she married Ira Adler. And then we have Olga Gaina. And when I saw this, I basically knew that we were going to be eliminating this suspect, leaving Evelyn and George. The next piece of evidence we have is these memoir pages. And this is basically Hector's memoir. And it tells of the time when Viola Vane was having her baby, and some of the stuff that we maybe had a feeling about was happening. But basically this confirms that what was happening with Viola was happening. So at the top, the note from Hector to Ira and Evelyn says, "Thought I should run this chapter of my memoir by the 2 of you before sending it to my editor. If you don't want this information to be made public just yet, simply say the word and I'll strike it from the manuscript." So basically, it just talks about Viola having her baby and Hector helping her keep this all a secret, and Viola's plans to go off with her baby Julian and live her life with her child in peace. The next piece of evidence is some coded notes. So those are just some notes, I think, of Ira's on the front. And this is the coded notes part. And this is coded notes between Ira and Evelyn. And let me go ahead and read off the code to, or the deciphered messages to you. So if you want to try to figure this out on your own, basically it's just the coded messages are backward, and the little dots are standing in for vowels. But here's what they say. And be patient as I get through this, because I just wrote what was coded into my little Cadence Theater notebook right here. So it says, "Can't we wait until later to discuss this further?" And that was Ira. Evelyn said back, "You expect me to just continue rehearsing after what Hector told me?" Ira replied, "I know you're upset, darling, but it's the right thing to do." Evelyn replied, "For you maybe. I never signed up to raise someone else's baby." "Would you rather leave him on somebody's doorstep?" Ira replied. "Hector's been doing a fine job so far," Evelyn says. Ira replies, "He's not Hector's responsibility." Then Evelyn said, "Well, he's not mine either. I've got enough to worry about as it is." Ira says, "But he's all alone now that Viola's gone." Evelyn replied, "That's not my fault. You have every right to be angry. I should have told you the truth from the start." Ira said in return. "Yes, you should have," Evelyn said. "Are you really going to turn your back on a helpless child? I made a mistake, because I made a mistake." So, I mean, this coded note honestly doesn't make Evelyn look very good because she's marrying Ira, and Julian is Ira's son, so. But, I mean, you know, obviously Ira didn't tell Evelyn that he had a son with Viola to begin with. You know, what a mess. But anyway, let's move on to this, which is a bloodstained letter, and it is also coded. Viola wrote this letter, and I'm going to try to read it to you because basically it wraps up the case, to be honest. So, what it says, and go ahead and go forward if you don't want me to help you just like read the coded notes, if you want to figure out the code yourself. But basically what it is inside the ring that was Olga's wedding ring is the date 1903. And if you add 1903 together, you get the number 13. So the code is shifting each letter by 13 and then using the @ cipher that Viola always uses, which is like the alphabet backward, right? So it's the alphabet backward, but it's shifted 13. Okay? If that makes any sense. And we can talk in the comments if that didn't make sense, and I'll try to help you get along. But I'm not right now. Spoiler alert, I'm going to read the coded letter to you. Hector, if you find this letter confusing, remember Mother's ring. She once said a wedding ring's true meaning was the sum of the year you've spent with your betrothed. Hearing her say that shifted my thinking about love. I wish the past year of my life had been as happy as her first year with my late father. Instead, it's been a nightmare. Today's events may have finally broken me. As if being attacked by Mother for failing to call her when I arrived at the theater weren't bad enough, I was castigated by Evelyn just now for not telling her about my child. She doesn't understand how hard it is to find the right words when anything you say will hurt someone you care about. For her sake, I hope she never has to find out. I thought I could stay to finish out my contract. But today's events have made it clear it's time for me to leave. I can't keep making excuses when Mother hurts me, or watching the father of my child make eyes at one of my best friends. I miss Julian so much. It aches. I belong with him, and I can't keep pretending he doesn't exist, for Mother's sake. I need you to help me collect my jewelry from its hiding place in the false bottom of the liquor cabinet at the Grace Note tomorrow night. I swiped the cabinet's key from George's office a few days ago. After that, I'll go to New Canaan and pick up Julian. I'll contact you once I've set myself up somewhere Mother will never find. Don't try to talk me out of this again, alright? We'll be fine. The jewelry in that lockbox is worth more than enough to keep me and Julian comfortable. For the first time in my life, I'm going to be free. Not only that, but I can ensure that my child will enjoy the freedom I never had growing up. I'm nervous about what George is going to say when I tell him tonight, since I know he's worked hard to center the publicity of "you can leave it right here around me," but I think I can get him to understand. He's always had a bit of a sweet spot for me. Talk to you later, Viola. So, this cab receipt is for November 6, 1934. and the arrival time is 6:08 p.m. The customer name is Evelyn Kittredge. So basically, this taxi cab receipt is going to help us eliminate Evelyn, because this is the cab that she took from the hotel, or from the Cadence Theater to the hotel where Ira proposed to her that day as Viola was being murdered. So Viola basically was being murdered as Evelyn was in the cab going from the theater to the hotel, if that makes sense, where Ira already was. So that piece of evidence right there cleared Evelyn. So here is an arrest record, and if you compare it to the rap sheet, the things match. So the woman who won't name herself is basically Olga right here, and we can tell because of these arrest records right here, they completely match this woman, okay? So basically, this says, refused to give name. The date of arrest was November 6, 1934 at 6 p.m. Date of birth, unable to confirm, but it says female. Race, white. Disheveled, hysterical, possibly intoxicated. 5'7", which matches Olga's description. Brown eyes, brown graying hair, dressed in suit and hat. So basically it says disturbing the peace, public intoxication, attempted breaking and entering, resisting arrest, assaulting an officer of the law. So this clears Olga because this also matches the newspaper clipping that I showed you earlier. It clears her because she was being arrested while her daughter was being murdered, unfortunately. So moving on from that, and that the arrest records are online. So now we know that George basically killed Viola. What happened is, if you remember from the letter that Viola wrote to Hector, she was going to tell George that day that she was leaving to be with Julian. And she was going to take her jewels, she was getting out of acting, and she was going to go live her life. Basically, he flew into a rage when Viola told him her plans for the future. And if you remember, so we got a cufflink in this box. On the back, it has the number 16. And in episode 1, we received a cufflink that matches this. And it had a 1 on the back. So the clue is 1:16. That's a Bible verse, Ruth 1:16. In previous evidence, we also learned that the first cufflink that was sent to us in episode 1 was underneath the trunk where Viola's body was found. So that means that George carried that trunk up to the attic and left it there, and it hadn't been touched since, and it fell off of him. So that's the most compelling piece of evidence in this whole case, that George had killed Viola. Furthermore, these cufflinks are talked about in a previous case, and Ruth gave them to her husband George as a gift. So look up Ruth 1:16 from the Bible, and you can see what that message Ruth was sending to her husband was. So basically, to find where that lockbox is, we got a key in this box here that looks like this. I love this key too. It's really cute. And online, on the Cadence Theater's website, there is this picture. And as you can see, there are keys right here on this hook. And you can find the key right there. That is the key that was sent to us, which is on the number 14. If you look on the blueprints of a previous case, you will know that that is the bar. So, also in the note that Viola wrote, she said that basically the jewels are hidden in the bar. But I did send Julia a note saying that George Erickson had killed Viola Vane, and that the treasure that Viola left in the theater can be found in the bar, called the Grace Note. She emailed me back twice. The first time here, and the second time here. So, what they say is, to begin with, the first one says, "You did it. You figured it out. George Erickson killed Viola Vane. It's the only explanation that makes sense. Olga couldn't have done it because she was in jail, and that taxi receipt means Evelyn wasn't in the building at the time of Viola's death. That just leaves George." In her letter, Viola mentioned talking to him after Evelyn left. It's not hard to imagine them arguing. She wanted to leave, and he couldn't stand to let her go. Things must have gotten so heated that he hit her with Olga's cane. Then he put her in the trunk and brought the body up to the attic using the service elevator. The absence of the trunk made the police think she had just run away, so George got away with it. And this email sent a link also to, oh gosh, I guess I wasn't able to print it out, but it's a little, basically a film script that was never produced, and it's basically a confession that George made that he killed Viola. So, after I got that one email from Julia, I got another one, and here it is. It says, "I found it. After I sent you my last message, I went to check the Grace Note, and I found the lockbox under some paneling in the liquor cabinet. So yay! Julia's going to be able to save her theater." Another piece of evidence that's online is Ruth Fisher's obituary, who is basically Ruth Erickson. And that helps to explain and wrap up some things too. So, the next case for Hunt a Killer will be Starstruck, right? And so with this, we got this flyer. So it's going to be about a boy band. And I do have my membership right now on hold, but I do believe I'll go forward with that in the future. But for today, I'm just so glad that we finally found justice for Viola Vane. I'm so glad that we found out who her killer was, so that Julia, her grandchild, can be put to rest about what happened. And I'm so glad that we were able to find the jewels so that Julia can save the Cadence Theater and it can go on for years to come. Well, that's all I have for today, you guys. I hope you had a good time looking into this case with me for these last few months. And I will see you guys again soon. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of the mysterious stuff that's coming up on my channel. Bye-bye.